Well, thank you very much for staying with us. We get into our big stories, and we're starting with the fallout from the NDC's Enough is Enough demonstration. I'll be introducing the guests to you shortly, but let's come, first of all, to these slides, and let's look at what the NDC has been calling for and what their position was at the end of yesterday's demonstration. So we start with this NDC's Enough is Enough demonstration, key issues identified by the NDC. Let's quickly walk through them. 243,540 unauthorized voter transfers, as has been, bandied about, mentioned time and again. 15,000 plus unidentifiable voter transfer parts, that is potential issues with fake registrations. Then 3,957 voters in the 2023 register deleted from the 2024 provisional register due to transfers. I'm going quicker because we've already taken a look at this from yesterday. And then 2,094 voters transferred to different polling stations, but not listed in the absent voter list as required by law. So these voters could be in limbo, in a maze, lost when it comes to identifying where they are to vote. But then they also talk about the EC's delayed transparency, that the EC can be transparent, but they are intentionally delaying it. That is the standpoint of the NDC. And admissions by the EC of manipulation. That is how the NDC sees this. Well, let's go into the other slides and examine some other matters as raised. Now, the grounds for the petition: failure to provide provisional voters register in time for scrutiny. So they say it didn't come in time for proper scrutiny. That is one. Discrepancies in the voter transfers. That's another one, linked to what we've already seen. Unidentifiable and missing voter data. So some can't be identified, others are completely missing, per what the NDC is saying. And then premature nomination process based on provisional register. So they are also saying, the EC and the MPP have accused the NDC of acting prematurely. They are also saying that there has been premature nomination process based on provisional register. But let's get into subsequent slides and find out what more the NDC has been saying. They also point to the Electoral Commission's admission of irregularities and the EC's rejection of transparency measures. They've been calling, for example, for that external forensic audit. And they say if the opposition then, now in power, could call for it ahead of 2016 with the now Electoral Commissioner, the current Electoral Commissioner, Jean Mensah, also delving into this, jumping into the fray as head of the IEA, then what has changed? That is the standpoint of the NDC. Next slide. Now, if you look at the demands, one, they are talking of an independent forensic audit of the voters register and its IT system. And of course, we have an IT representative of the NDC in the studio. He will break down what exactly they mean by that. Then, to convene stakeholders for collaboration and agree to publish the findings of the forensic audit. So they want stakeholder consultation, and they want this audit to be conducted and a report also published on it. Then re-exhibit the voters register after the forensic audit. In other words, when the so-called corrections are made, then re-exhibit so that we can confirm and that ordinary voters can go out there and check whether the remedies have actually fed into that voters register. Next slide. Again, review and correct all unauthorized transfers per law, as they have cited, that the transfers must be authorized. They must be in accordance with the law governing elections and the voting process. Adopt a revised timeline for electoral activities, and I think I'll be asking more on that of the NDC's representative in the studio. And then institute accountability and integrity measures. These are all calls that the NDC is making, demands they are making. Next slide. And then we wrap with what Dr. Cassia Latofos, the minority leader, has been saying. He was in the thick of things yesterday. We spoke to him from the Obra spot, and some of what he had to say. We believe that the voters' register must be audited. The level of tampering we've observed so far makes it impossible, note the word, impossible, to proceed without a proper review. This audit will help us understand the extent of the issue and fix the system. If we have to recall Parliament, then we will. And you recall that yesterday there was that presentation of a petition to Parliament as well. The majority leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin was there. Dr. Cassie Lato-Forson was also there, among others, coming together, apart from the petitions that were submitted at the Electoral Commission. Also note, Chairman of the party, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has said that the irregularities, a lot of the irregularities in the voters' register by the EC are intentional. Those are the words of the chairman of the NDC. But what does this mean for election 2024? Stick and stay. When we return after the break, our guests, Dr. Kobina Arthur Kennedy. He is a political activist, a political analyst, I should say, and physician. Of course, he's a stalwart of the MPP as well. Evans Nimako is Director of Research and Elections with the MPP. And from the NDC's end, he will have a lot of explaining to do to us this morning. Dr. Tanko Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT with the NDC. We'll be right back, getting you into the salient matters in the studio. Stay.
So this is the Bundesliga version of the Enough demonstration, an exercise that has been conducted by the National Democratic Congress, expressing their displeasure with the conduct of the Electoral Commission. They are calling for the EC to audit the current voters register, but the EC, according to them, is not heeding to this particular call. So as I speak to you, all 11 parliamentary candidates of the National Democratic Congress within the Bundesliga are here to participate in this exercise. We've been speaking with some prominent individuals within the party, including some MPs who are here to place an education. And let's listen to what they've been telling us in relation to why this exercise is really important to members of the National Democratic Congress. Very important to me because
the NDC supporters defied the heavy downpour and poured out in their numbers to protest against the EC. Those who could not join the protest stood on the shoulders of the road cheering them out. Some of the slogans that were heard were Sheko Shebe Katidago, which literally means you either step down or we push you out. Some of the placards read enough is enough, audits are registered. We want free and fair elections, among others. Speaking after the presentation of the petition, the Northern Regional Chairman of the NDC, Adolf Ali, said if other constituencies in the MPP presidential elections had scrutinized their results properly, they would have found similar irregularities that annulled the Wallo.
Well, and that's how we kickstart the conversation. Before we come into the studio, let me acknowledge those who are joining us virtually. Dr. Kobina Arthur Kennedy. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, Ben, and good morning to your viewers.
Well, that greeting may have been deceptive because where you are, it may not necessarily be morning, but thank you for joining us all the same. Let me also say a very good morning to Evans Nimako. At least if he's in the country, then it must be morning. Director of Research and Elections with the MPP. Evans Nimako, a very good morning to you.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning to viewers.
It's really good having you.
Good morning to Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
All right, it's good having you. It's always good having conversations with you. In the studio, we have Dr. Tanko Computer. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right. So let's quickly start with the fallout from yesterday. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, I'll start with you. Just give us, each of you gentlemen, just give us your view, your perspective in about a minute or a minute and a half maximum of what you saw yesterday, what your chief takeaways are, and whether this will amount to anything in the first place. I'll start with you, Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
Yes, I think the turnout was massive, it's commendable, and it shows that our democracy is alive and well and vibrant. But one wonders whether even this was necessary. The demand are so straightforward that I am surprised that we go through this quadrennial exercise of having the opposition party have to demand for transparency and some of these things that are very commonsensical. I think that maybe we need to find a way of enshrining this in law so that we don't have to go through this and then see the hypocrisy of political parties supporting these changes when they are in opposition and opposing them strangely when they are in government.
Those are some interesting thoughts you have put forward. You are even asking, was it necessary? What is your thinking on the matter, Evans Nimako? A deepening of our democracy, or maybe in the words of Arthur Kennedy, unnecessary if we had done the right things?
Well, thank you very much. I think to start with, depending on where you stand, it may be necessary or not for us as New Patriotic Party. The demonstration is needless because the issues that are being raised are issues that could be addressed ordinarily through the mechanisms as enshrined in the CI 91. It's not far-fetched. But as I said, that is the NDC. Whether you like it or not, that is the strategy they've adopted going into the elections, which is just 79 days away. A New Patriotic Party, we are very focused. We are selling our presidential candidate, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. But as Dr. Kennedy said, maybe some are being hypocrites. For New Patriotic Party, our stance has been that if you look at what the exhibition is supposed to do, all these auditing are being done because the essence of exhibition is to correct any anomalies that are shown in the course of the exhibition. There are human factors. And so I can understand that you visit your polling station or exhibition center and your names are wrongly spelled and you've been placed in a certain category of register, that corrections can be made. But the NDC has a different strategy. We are focused. We are reaching out to voters to vote massively for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. That is our focus for now.
All right. Just a quick follow-up. You spoke on the bit about being unnecessary and the hypocrisy. When he said, made mention of hypocrisy, he was referring to both your political parties because he spoke about the fact that when you're in opposition, you think differently about it. When you're in power, you think differently about it. But you speak about it being their strategy and being unnecessary. But it's a strategy you've also adopted in 2015, 2016. You went down the same road. So shouldn't we rather be focusing on what he says, constitutional elements, so that we don't have to go through this process every 4 or 8 years? Shouldn't that be the focus?
I don't think that the issues are the same. What pertained in time leading to the quest by the New Patriotic Party in 2015 towards 2016 is different from now. If you quite remember, post the 2012-2013 presidential petition, the issue of the register being bloated came to fore. You remember the case of Abu Ramadan Evans Nimako versus the Electoral Commission, where the EC's registration arrangement had allowed people who had Ghana, the health insurance ID card, to be able to register. At the end of the ruling in the Abu Ramadan case, the court held that it was not right for EC to register people using the NHI card as their means of identification. And on that note, the EC must go clean the register by deleting the names of those people. However, after that has been done, the EC should give them the opportunity to register again. And so that was years preceding the demand of the New Patriotic Party then that, in that case, there's something deliberate must be done to the register so we can have a credible register for the 2016 elections. In fact,
so in other words, what you're saying
EC
is different strokes for different folks. It was relevant then, but now it's not relevant, right? That's what you're saying.
No, that's not the point. When the Justice Crab Committee sat, at the end of their engagement with key stakeholders, they came out that over 580,000 people were in the register who were not supposed to be there. But they recommended to the EC to go and clean its register. And so it wasn't an external body that was being invited into the frame to define what should be credible and what should not be credible register for Ghana. And that is the demands of the NDC. For now, they said they've identified a certain transfer of 243,500 people. They've identified another 15,000 people who have been unduly transferred. The provisional register was generated by the EC.
Okay, I think the initial comments have been made. I don't want us to get in too much into the thrust of it. I was just taking initial comments, but I wanted to find out on the back of what you said. Mr. Nimako, just hold for me. Let me come into the studio. Initial thoughts and reactions to what Doc and Evans have said, and Sweetie will take it over from there. So initial thoughts and then your reactions to what?
Very well, very well. Let me say good morning to my friend Evans. And Dr. Atta Kennedy, and to your cherished viewers. Clearly, my friend has missed the point on the issue of what is happening currently. And I'm saying that, you see, the interesting thing is that we must be principled in this country. Principles are principles. We must go by that. You see, we cannot continue to be changing the goalposts when it suits us. We must go by it critically. Now, this call for forensic audit, this is not the first time a political party is calling for an audit of a register. This is not the first time a think tank, governance think tank, called for an audit of a register in this country. It has happened before. And I'm saying that IEA, which happens to be one of the think tanks, governance think tanks in Ghana, in October 2015, in fact, specifically 15th October 2015, at that time was led by Madam Jean Mensah. She was the executive director of IEA, had a meeting with civil society, other civil society organizations. And in the communique they issued after the meeting, stated clearly that an external body, an independent external body, should be put together to audit the register.
He's saying this, Evans is saying the circumstances are different. They are not the same.
No, they are the same. And even the magnitude of what we are seeing is even surpasses what happened in the 2015-2016 episode. When Madame Jean Mensah was calling this, she even went further to say, cost should not be an issue. It's there. I can read the communique for you. She said, cost should not be an issue. We must audit the register. She was on the neck of the Electoral Commission, calling for this audit. At that time, the issue they were talking of was about some Togolese that Dr. Baumia, then running mate, was banding around the country, telling the whole world that Togolese are in our register because we have names like Kokuvi and Kokuga and all that. And he thinks that those names sound Togolese names, and therefore they shouldn't be in our register. They did presentation across. It didn't stop there. Their own youth organizer then, Samia Wuku, held press conference and told the whole world that their party members' names were being removed from the register in all the 10 regions, followed by their national chairman. Okay, so in all this, when the tension was a bit high in terms of calling for the audit and all that, Madam Charlotte Osei, in her wisdom, didn't say, bring those things to us. We, the commission, will sit down and look at it and analyze it, and then come out with our verdict. They decided to form a body. So you see, when they are talking, that's why I'm saying we must be principled. An external body was formed. Justice Crab was not a member of the Electoral Commission. He was not a member of the commission. The other 4 members of the committee that was set up, none of them were members of the committee. This was just an external body set up to go into the matter. Why is it that the MPP didn't say this body is an external body, they are going to influence the position of Electoral Commission, which the Constitution says not? The MPP, when they met them, it was a public sitting, presented all their grievances. We did. The NDC, we were in power. We didn't object to it. We didn't stop them. The executive didn't stop it. The president allowed that, look, although it's an independent body, but to engender transparency, integrity of the register, allow the committee to do its work. The committee sat through and went into the register to find out whether actually there were 80,000 Togolese and whether names were expunged from the register, as alleged by Samuel Awuku and their national chairman.
Right.
That was an audit. That was what we call an audit. Their verdict was very clear. We went into the elections, and we won. The MPP won the election. The NDC lost, and we accepted the results. So I'm saying that currently the magnitude of the issue is so compelling that you cannot fold your arm if you are a lover of our democracy. Because you cannot sit down, a body that we entrust our destiny into, because our destiny is in the hands of the Electoral Commission. They must count the vote to decide who should be our president. And that's what we are preventing. Okay. When Stalin was talking about it in 1924, those who count the vote decide everything. That is what these people are trying to do. And we say, no. The fact that you are going to count the vote doesn't mean that you should decide who should be our president. We, the voters, should be the one who should decide who should be our president. And by so doing, our name should be properly captured in the document known as the register, so that we can go there and decide that we all want His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to be our next president. Finito. But somebody somewhere is sitting in her office and tampering the data and manipulating the data, trying to disenfranchise people and to give heads up to our opponent.
Okay.
That is what we are talking about. And we have given, look, in law, prima facie, enough evidence to show that, look, there is a need to go, because even the body that is mandated to handle it, that body too is saying that, yes, we agree, there is a problem with the register. They held series of press conferences. Dr. Bosman, let me say good morning to him. Dr. Bosman held a press conference and virtually admitted to all these grievances. And the most interesting aspect is that they use the word deliberately. Imagine somebody who is a commissioner will come on air to tell us that, yes, there was an error, but it was deliberate in order to let people track the transfers and other things. If the NDC hadn't used its eagle eye, that deliberate error was going to be used to elect an illegal president.
Okay. Doc, let's get surgical with it. And I want to start with Dr. Arthur Kennedy. Doc, I mean, even in this conversation alone, I've heard words like needless, unnecessary, different strokes for different folks and all that. And something I heard you say, Ali, I think during the 67th independence celebration, that we have lost our way, but it would be disingenuous to say that we have not achieved anything at all. The question on my mind is, would it be disingenuous to say that the NDC has not achieved anything at all with this demonstration? Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
Yes, it will be. A lot has been achieved, and let me also commend the MPP for historically all what they have done to improve transparency and accountability in our elections. But we are looking at a problem that is far deeper than we see. Because I've lived in the US for about 30 years. I've never seen a completely new voters register done before. But in Ghana, every 4 or 8 years since 1990, we construct a new voters register. Why do we keep needing new voters registers? As somebody said during the Nixon administration Watergate scandal, follow the money. It appears to me, respectfully, that there are financial or pecuniary interests by hidden forces in our electoral system who seem to gain by these repeated new registers and exhibitions and all that. Because the demands that the NDC are making on the surface of it seemed very mundane. And indeed, the MPP, to its credit, have made very similar demands in the past. The question is why there is the need for a demonstration before those demands are met. They should be enshrined in our constitution. You know, you do a register, you exhibit it, people correct the errors. And indeed, the Electoral Commission cannot audit its own work. For one thing, it is moving to a position where its own integrity and impartiality is coming into question. When you go as far back to as the election petition that went to the Supreme Court and the fact that sometimes MPP lawyers were defending the EC more than its own lawyers, I think it bears saying that an independent set of eyes will lend credibility to the process. And I am baffled as to why the MPP, which so eloquently championed these same causes, is now lost and doesn't seem to see the wisdom in it. Let us be consistent in our politics, as the MPP representative has just eloquently said. It's just that the MPP should be looking in the mirror.
Right. So would you say that the response of the NPP towards the NDC's demands, and in fact this demonstration then, is a bit mischievous, for want of a better word?
You should have joined the demonstration. You know, I don't know why anybody can be against improving transparency in elections, which the MPP itself has very eloquently called for in the past. We all have an interest in a credible register, credible elections, and a presidency we can all trust, and to make sure that we don't get errors like the one that led to the exclusion of Santrofia, Pafulolobi, and Lipe, who didn't have an MP and other such stuff. We all support this, and the MPP owes it a duty to its own historic legacy to be in the forefront of such reforms, which it has always been.
Ben.
Interesting thoughts. Evans, I'll come to you shortly, but I just need to quickly get these thoughts explained by Dr. Arthur Kennedy. 2 quick points. You said we face the problems we do, unlike in the US where they are not changing a register like we do all the time, because of financial or pecuniary interests. In other words, people benefit from putting forth a new voters register. Someone benefits financially from the system. What exactly do you mean by that? And secondly, you also say the EC can't audit its own work. I want you to explain further into those two briefly before I go back to Evans Nimako. What do you mean by those two?
In terms of the repeated registers, you know, if you recall, when Madame Jean Mensah herself took over, she did a very extraordinary press conference in which she talked about how, talking about IT, I see the IT director for the NDC, she alleged that our own IT personnel were not competent enough to handle the complexities of the IT systems we have. And he went on to say that sometimes the source codes of some of these things are controlled, to quote, by foreigners. And I can tell you that I have a friend who, both under Ms. Charlotte Osei and Ms. Jean Mensah, had been engaged as a consultant to talk to them about some of these very issues. And he had hit the same roadblocks. It seems as if there are very powerful external forces involved in these quadrennial exercises to remake our registers. And we need to enshrine this in straightforward, transparent law so that they will be routine. And the reason I keep saying that is, I can tell you that God will, and if we are all alive in 4 to 8 years, another EC or even this EC and the new government will suddenly discover that this particular register is bloated or tainted with corruption and all that. And by the way, I can tell you that the register is bloated because if you look at our population and the percentage of the population that is registered and other things, it looks as if our register is too large, and it comes from some of the procedural errors that when they are doing these registers, you need to apply biometric measures live or dynamically as you are doing it, so that you don't take a laptop or something unconnected with the biometric data, go and do something and come and dump it. That is what we keep doing. And I'm just saying that it will seem as if there are people who benefit from this. That is why it keeps happening. And in fairness to the EC, I mean, it has an interest in protecting this work. It's like when you are a student and you go take an exam and you say, I want my script remarked. The same teacher who marked your script and you have a problem with says, I will remark it for you. I mean, ideally, a different person should mark the script. So I think it is the interest of everybody to have independent people look at this so that we can all have confidence in the results.
Okay, and that's why the EC can't audit its own work. Evans Nimako, so you've heard what he said. You look at Imani Africa, back then, recently I saw a piece by Bright Simmons referencing, for example, I think 2016 and now, and the claims that were made by your side that the register was bloated. It turned out it wasn't bloated. In fact, if you looked at the numbers, people were looking at the population and then saying that, oh, how can all of these people be voting? Or how can these be registered voters? Per Iman, it wasn't bloated then, and even now with the 18 million plus, it is not bloated now. But you've heard Dr. Arthur Kennedy saying that it likely is bloated. What is your take on that and any other reactions you have? Evans DeMarco.
Well, thank you. I think hanging on the last submission by Dr. Kennedy, he disagrees with Imani that the register...
Yes, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah. So at any point in time, people will have different opinions to issues. But I quite remember, and I'll keep on saying that the issue that played out post-2012 elections towards 2016 are not the same. We had gotten the registers of Togo and Ivory Coast. A juxtaposition of these on our register then indicated that there were some people transversing in all the registers we had. Beyond that,
you mean Togolese and Ivorians who were supposedly on our register?
Yes. We had made the case that there were some minors who were on the register. And so, on the back of the court ruling, Supreme Court ruling in the case of Abu Ramadan, that some people who were there that needed to be taken out, gave credence to the issue that we needed to have a new register.
But you never were able to prove the bit about Togolese and others on our register. You never were able to prove that.
The new Patriotic Party submitted the list with pictures to the Justice Crab Committee. That was done.
Were these names deleted from the eventual register? Were these names, all of these people, were they deleted?
No. I'm saying the Justice Crab Committee did not take the Register of Ghana to audit. They engaged stakeholders and provided recommendations to the EC. That is why they said that there were about 580,000 people who are not supposed to be in the register, and that the EC should conduct its audit system to clean the register. And what did they do? Exhibition. Dr. Kennedy, the auditing by the EC is enshrined in the CI 91, where the EC compiled provisional register, regulation 22. 23 up to 27 will give you stages and steps that must be done, at which point in 27 you will have certified register. So it is there already in the CI. That is why when exhibition is done, captured in the CI 91, regulation 23, you cannot go beyond it. To give an analogy of a student going for a remark which is done by a different tutor or lecturer, is different from the register we have. When New Patriotic Party made the case, we made the case that there should be a new register. I quite remember after 2016, the issue was the voter management system Ghana had was controlled by an external body. The source code was controlled by that body. The body was supposed to train our EC people, which they've not done. The materials had reached the end of life. Refurbishment of it will be too expensive. Replacing it will be less expensive. And then the option was which one to go for. In fact, in that case, in that whole argument, NDC disagreed with the EC. A body was set up to engage stakeholders, political parties. At the end of it, the EC put together a new voter management system. New Patriotic Party had all the time requested that in order to move away from these challenges associated with registration exercise, let us have the Ghana card, which to a large extent is foolproof, to be the means of identification. So you take out possible foreigners, possible minors, and get people who are within the age bracket to be on the electoral roll. NDC at all times have said no. In the current situation, let's resolve it. My brother, I don't know whether you were able to visit your exhibition center or polling station during the period of exhibition, 20th to 27th. I don't know whether you were able to do that.
I wasn't.
Yes. So what happened is that when there's exhibition, it is done across all the polling stations. As we speak, we have 38,622. That is what the CIC, the EC must do.
Right.
But you realize that most people will not visit exhibition center. So the EC provided a short code.
Indeed.
That was to be done at a cost, 50p.
Yeah.
So what
and there was a lot of furore about that, and they said that it wasn't coming to them, it was going to the telcos facilitating.
So the New Patriotic Party generated a short code free of charge. NDC generated same. And all this is to assist. And when you look at the CI, exhibition is supposed to help with corrections. Where your names are only spelled, you've been deleted, you either fill for inclusion or corrections to be made to order. And for me, that is exactly what the EC must do. And that's exactly what the EC did. That corrections are to be made to data. And then the final certified register will be made available to political parties. If you've gone through it and you've realized that there's a certain 243,000 who have been transferred, captured from 2020 to 2024.
Right.
You pointed out to the EC. Okay. You're saying that 15,000 people have been illegally transferred. You point it out. Okay. You are not prepared to submit the list to EC, but you are prepared to give it to a committee chaired by either Dr. Kennedy or Imani or whatever. That is what you want to do.
They say they'll hand it to the external forensic auditing
and that's what I'm saying,
entity.
That we, the New Patriotic Party, we have 79 days to D-Day, December 7th.
Okay.
We are focused and will not be detracted by this call now.
Okay, all right.
It will serve no purpose.
Evans, I think that point is clear. I just want a quick... the short code, is it still working from both your ends? Is that short code still operational?
Well, as we speak, I've not assessed. The exhibition period is over. So
okay, all right.
Even if you do and there are issues, I don't know how you report it.
Sweetie, interesting times. And maybe it will be interesting to find out from Dr. Tanko as well what his reactions would be.
Then maybe we can circle back to...
Unless you want to go to
I mean, it's your
Evans
government,
first.
Your party is in government right now, Evans Nimako. And be that as it may, these concerns have been raised by opposition. NDC and some other parties and independent candidates are all backing this call for a forensic audit. Dr. Arthur Kennedy also just said that it should have some legislative backing so that we don't always have to review and use a new register. Are you concerned at all that the credibility of the Electoral Commission is in question? And if so, what are you doing to ensure that the NPP is not seen as the beneficiaries of these issues? We've had, the Attorney General, for example, jump to the defense of the Electoral Commission. Every time that members of this government speak, they speak as if the EC is doing everything right. Who was it that said that nation record? I think that's still the Attorney General that said that.
Yes, at the Ghana Bar Association conference, I think.
You're a nation record also if you're questioning what the EC is doing. Are you concerned at all that these issues undermine the credibility of the Electoral Commission, which has the mandate to deliver free, fair and credible elections going to the December 7 polls?
Well, thank you. I think that it's important we situate the issue in its right context. When you are talking of the electoral management body, you've said it, and others have their own opinions. For me and for New Patriotic Party, what we insist at all times is that the EC must do what is in the law. Beyond that, it doesn't matter who sits there as the EC. The New Patriotic Party won elections under Dr. Kwadwo Afai-Gyan. We won elections under Madam Charlotte Osei. So it doesn't matter who sits. Even if Dr. Tanko sits as the EC and we have the register, we will sell Dr. Bawumia to the good people of Ghana. I'm saying that the 79 days we have, we are not going to use it to address reverse psychology issues. We are not going to do that. And so, yes, if the AG, you've heard NDC bastardizing the AG, that is not an issue for discussion. But when the AG makes his opinion, it becomes the issue that the AG is defending the EC. The New Patriotic Party, we are not out to defend the EC. We are out to speak to voters so they vote for our candidates, to make sure that we have good governance in Ghana and transform Ghana, and not what Dr. Tanko and Co will sit and will not come to IPAC to discuss issues, but rather stick to appealing to public with issues that are really confusing to them.
Thank you, Evans Nimako. Hold for me. Dr. Tanko. Dr. Tanko Computer. I'm sure you have a lot of things to say in response to the submissions that have come up so far.
Of course, of course.
Let's hear you out.
You know what? Sweetie, I want you to show this. Have you seen this book?
Yes, it says how to rig an election.
You have seen that book.
Yeah.
Have you read that book before?
I've not read it.
You've not read it. I want to show you something. Before I respond to them, I want to just...
So maybe you should just show the cover to our viewers as well. How to Rig an Election by what? Nick Cheeseman and Brian Klaas. Please send it there so that anyone who probably wants to...
From Yale University, is a professor of political science and all that.
Yale University.
Yeah.
University.
Okay.
You know, our former...
Okay, let's get to the code.
Good. Okay. Now, they said something about how to rig election, how dictators perpetrate their illegality on their own people. Such tactics include manipulating the electoral register, blocking certain candidates from running in elections, and playing with electoral boundaries to maximize partisan gains. What all of these tactics have in common is that they can be deployed months in advance of an election when observers are likely to be seen on the ground, and they can be presented as technical or legal decisions as opposed to political skullduggery. You see what they have done?
So elections are not won at the polling station.
So what they are saying is that when you want to rig election, you manipulate the register way ahead, months to the elections. At the time of doing that manipulation, observers are not around. You know, as we speak now, you don't have international observers who are coming to look at the elections. So they are singing from this hymn book, manipulate the register.
Who are they?
Electoral Commission, the EC. That is what they are doing. They are singing from this book, manipulate the register. Since the observers are not seeing this, they think everything will be all set. By the time the observers come, everything has been manipulated. So you go to elections, you are using a tainted register, and then they will perpetuate that illegality because an illegal person will vote for me. I'm giving an example. My good friend mentioned a CI 91. CI 91 is about registration. When it comes to transfer, it has nothing to do with CI 91. Transfers are conducted through CI 127, Regulation 22. That's why you talk about transfers of votes. Okay, you transfer your votes by appearing before a returning officer. That's what they are talking about. You transfer your votes before a returning officer. So when Bosman came and announced that they are now introducing a liveliness check, already the CI makes room of liveliness check. The liveliness check is you coming face-to-face with a returning officer with your voter ID card to tell the returning officer that I stay here, I'm now 12 months here, this is my house number, I'm no more in Accra, I'm in Kumasi, so I want to vote in Bantama. Then the Bantama returning officer will access you by making sure I take your biometrics and then now transfer you from Accra to Bantama. That one is taken care of CI 127 Regulation 22.2. He knows it. My brother knows this. Now, what we have seen in this current administration is that, led by Madam Jean Mensa, for the first time, people have not appeared before returning officers. Somebody just sat at the Electoral Commission office and start transferring them by using their voter ID numbers. They are using their pictures and transferring them from their IT system. And you think that...
And that's what you say is contrary to the law.
Contrary to the law. And which accounted to the 15,000 we are talking of. So what happened is that these 15,000 people, although their names are in the register, but they don't know that they have removed them from Accra, throw them all the way to Bolga, some to Wa, some to... Like the Tamale episode. When they quickly came out, they say, oh, only 38 people from Tamale. We are reversing. It's not true. Tolong, we just discovered massive transfer of people like that. Have you
produced this evidence? Have you submitted it to the EC?
Yes, we met the Electoral Commission. We wrote to them. You see, NDC is a political party that wants...
You submitted names and all of that to the EC?
We went and met the Electoral Commission, did a presentation, showed them the software. We're very charitable. We used to compare the two registers and where we are able to get where they did these transfers without the path and indicated to them, you've transferred this person to this person. There is no path. You have not indicated the person in the absent voters list. How come you've done this? This person, you have removed them. This data, 243,000 of them, is an old data you have picked from the 2023 transfer window and added it to this. What is the purpose of that? We've indicated it to them. Their IT officer was there. He tried to explain one thing. You see, the girls were very charitable on the NDC. We caught him, hands down. So we realized that this EC is having a register different from the one they exhibited. and different from the one they gave us.
Okay.
So it appeared they were having 3 registers. So we asked, if you are saying that you have corrected some of these things and you have the data, this is our external drive. Put it inside. The one you say you have corrected one. Give us. We'll go back and look at it. Since you are singing from a book that we don't know. Because this person, you've removed the name. The person is in Accra.
Okay, so I think the thrust of your point is made. So, and they've still not given you that updated register, right?
They have not given us that one.
Okay.
And we said, look, apart from that, it is not even the register. There's even more damaging issue at the EC with their IT system. What kind of IT system that you have that people in that department can just sit down at their comfort and start manipulating the data left and right?
Okay,
what protocols are they using?
Doc, now the EC has responded or received your petition. I mean, I must say congratulations. It was a very well executed demonstration nationwide. And they're saying that, or they're assuring you that your grievances have been heard, they're working towards it. I want to just circle in back on that violence confrontation in Kumasi. Do you believe the police response was an escalated tension, or were protesters trying to make a stronger statement?
You see,
Kumasi?
We promised the police hierarchy in Accra that we're going to have a very peaceful demonstration, just to drum down our issues, simple and short. This is not our first time of doing demonstration. We have done it several times. Under this administration, we've held several demos. No issues. Because this one was a nationwide one, we spoke to our leadership across the regions, how they are going to go about it. And we warned. We are aware of partisan recruitment into the police service. And we had the intelligence that some of them are so overzealous that they have now forgotten that they are no more MPP people. They are now the state property, police, wearing police uniform. And then instead of them to delink that kind of partisan thing in them, some of them are still misbehaving. That led to the Kumasi episode. Look at
so you're blaming
I'm saying that
the police officers for the skirmishes in Kumasi.
Yes, it's the unprofessional.
Were those demonstrators not trying to barge in? That was never the point. You were never supposed to barge into the Electoral Commission offices at any point. You wanted to submit a petition. Someone would come and take the petition, right? Was that not the case?
Accra here, the head office, where Madam Jean Mensah is. Do you know where we went?
Where
Do you
did
know
you
how
go?
close we came to?
It's not about how close it is. Someone came and received the petition. Did the person not?
That's why I'm saying that. We're just coming to give a petition to you. They had not even come closer to where the receivers and all that. Then some overzealous police officer confronted our regional chairman.
Okay, so what
and raised the hand on our regional chairman.
What we heard, Doc, is that you were rerouted from the RCC, not to go into the RCC. Only the directors or the executive members should enter the building to present the petition. And the demonstrators broke that barricade. That's when the tension escalated. So the question is really, was it just an escalated tension situation, or were you trying to make a stronger statement in Kumasi?
Not that. You see, that's why I'm saying that it is the misbehavior of some overzealous officers. I said, but
what about the protesters? They broke the barricade.
No,
we saw the videos.
Are the demonstrators not to blame in any way on this matter?
Let me tell you. I said yesterday, we had issues with the police. Okay, but they were so professional. Are you getting it? In handling the issue.
So it was the police officers in Kumasi who were not professional.
That's where the problem came in. I said those overzealous boys they sent over there. Because when we had the issues at the police, Faris School Junction and all that, we resolved it amicably with our demonstrators. And when we got to the Electoral Commission head office, I'm sure because your cameras were not there, the same barricade that you're talking of, there was too much tension there. But the police were so professional, the managers, and we managed and told them that, look, these issues that has come is needless. So we managed to protect. They even brought the water distance. The guys were just
the water cannon.
Look at the work
could your demonstrators, even if you are agitated, could the demonstrators have behaved better than doing this? Could they have done better than this?
I am saying that who caused that? Those who caused it are the police officers. They should be held responsible for this. I am saying this because what I saw in Accra here, if we had that kind of professionalism exhibited over there, we wouldn't have this kind of thing.
3 of your members were arrested. They were detained, later let go of. Why do you think they were detained?
No, should they do that? Why should they? That's why they had to let them go, because it was needless, completely needless. We were just trying to create unnecessary tension in the country. We told them that next time we have issues like that, and they bring those partisan boys, they will have to contain us in Ghana. Because we are not going to take it.
All right.
That's why we are saying,
Dr. Computer.
Let's have peace in this country.
Dr. Computer.
We are very peaceful people.
Right.
We had peaceful demonstration. In fact, their statement.
Right.
You see how the other, your sister station, International, Al Jazeera, BBC reported it. Everything went on course peacefully. The numbers were...
apart from that incident, that sole incident in Kumasi, which I feel could have been avoided. It's not any time that someone agitates you that, you take the bait. That is... But I think your point has been made. We have
Somebody
to go.
was planning to mad our troops.
Right.
That's why they did those kind of
we have to go. You know what arenas you can use to address those issues with the Ghana Police Service. But as we conclude the conversation, for me, my final points to you, and I'll start with Dr. Arthur Kennedy. What does this mean by way of precedents that it sets? Because then we seem to be on a slippery slope where maybe every 8 years we're going to demand some forensic audit. It happened in 2015, 2016, ahead of the 2016 elections. The MPP wanted it. Today, they say it's not necessary. Today, it's the NDC that wants it. The MPP says it's not necessary. Are we setting a bad precedent that could bite us in the future? And secondly, I would also like you, all of you gentlemen, to share your thoughts on this latest survey conducted by the Office of the President, which claims that Dr. Bawumia and former President Mahama are neck and neck. In fact, both of them getting about, is it 43.6 or 46.3% likely of the voting in there. For some political watchers, they say, how did we move from one-touch victory to now neck and neck? Two questions for you for your reflection. From my end, these are my final questions. I'll start with you, Dr. Arthur Kennedy.
Yes, I think we are setting a dangerous precedent, and the best way to solve it is to enshrine the auditing process in our rules so that it will not demand any demonstration before it is done. I'm surprised that Dr. Nimakun is sitting here because it seems like he and the NDC gentleman, Computer, should be on the same side, and his chair should be occupied by an EC person explaining what is happening. Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. I think that given all the things that have happened in Ghana's political history, leading to the removal of former EC chair and some of the others, people are right to be skeptical. I think that Ms. Jean Mensah is a good person, but her work must be demonstrated. We must trust but verify, and I think that whatever way you go about it, an independent audit would bolster confidence in our process. And I think we should end this quadrennial new register exercise. It is a waste of money. We should prune our register and adjust it with new voters and use the excess money to build schools so that we have less children going to schools under trees. As far as the polling is concerned, I actually don't believe it. I think that if it is a poll released by the government, which says that their candidate is neck and neck with the opposition candidate, as somebody who has watched elections for some time, it means it's an admission that the opposition candidate is higher.
Evans DeMarco, your reactions to
thank
those
you
two?
very much. I'm happy Dr. Tanko Rashid showed us a book, How to Rig Elections, authored by Yale University. I think you should find out from his national chairman whether the EC can rig elections for any political party. Because Mr. Sidon Ketia told us that the EC can't rig elections. So I don't know what has changed. We're saying that this demonstration is really not necessary because the issues that are being escalated are issues that are dealt with by the dictates in the CI. So we are not in support of it. And so we will not join the NDC in this enterprise. But we rather join when we sit at IPAC to discuss issues that would deepen our multi-party democracy. That's why we said that it is important for us to introduce the NIA card as a means of identifying who we want to be admitted onto the electoral roll, but the NDC will say, no, we have 79 days. We are selling Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. My brother, you see, if you've invited me, and you've invited the NDC, represented by Dr. Tanko, invite Mr. Mahama, invite Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and let them debate on policy issues, why Ghanaians should vote for any of them. The NDC penchant of warning the security services is not new to me. And so, yes, Dr. Tanko, you can continue to warn. It is only in Ashanti region that some officers exhibited unprofessional conduct, but across Ghana, it was okay. So that is NDC. We will continue to reach out to voters and make sure that come December 7th, majority of them will vote for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia.
Are we setting, for the sake of time, are we setting dangerous precedents with these calls for auditing? And this latest survey by the Office of the President, Dr. Arthur Kennedy says, and as a political watcher, if the incumbent party is telling you, oh, we are neck and neck, they are probably losing. And that's what Dr. Arthur Kennedy thinks. Quick takes on that.
Well, so thank you. That's Dr. Kennedy's opinion. For me, majority of the people will vote December 7th, and that is where the decision will be made. Polls are for advice purposes, and so we will stick to the issues there and move on. New Patriotic Party, all things being equal, the battle being the laws, it is possible we are breaking the 8.
All right. It's good to hear the battle is still the Lord's too. I don't know whether it's the same one that Napo says is sleeping, but let's get to Dr. Tanko Computer.
Well, very well.
Final thoughts.
Yeah.
No plenty talk. I mean, final thoughts.
I actually don't want to glorify that research coming from the presidency. They virtually admitted that the MPPs getting out of office, they are losing the election. Nobody needs to glorify that kind of thing. You just sit down trying to. They know it. Ghanaians are fed up with them. In fact, one of on the other side of it, the benefit of the demonstration yesterday, we got access to the cathedral pool. Did you see that what happened there? Your cameramen were there.
What happened?
The security all left the place. And we got there. And we saw that big hole is now a swimming pool for people to go there and swim. $58 million swimming pool.
You're talking of the National Cathedral.
Yes. And we got access. It was a free access for us. They were using military men to chase away people from getting access. But yesterday, thank God, it was open free for people to see how they have desecrated our hard-earned money in this country, $58 million for that swimming pool over there.
Right,
That's what is happening. So we are saying that we are clear in our mind that whatever we are calling for, it is in the interest of our democracy. My brother, it is in the interest of democracy.
Okay.
We all want to continue enjoying the democracy. NDC will support every move that will make sure that we continue to enjoy democracy after December 7th.
Okay. Will the former president show up for the IEA debate? It's scheduled for today. Will we be seeing Mr. Mahama on that platform?
Sweetie, we said it one time and again that monkeys play by their sizes. Why should he go and sit and debate with a mate?
So that's a no.
And the driver cannot debate each other.
All right.
The driver debate with a driver. And a mate can also debate with a mate.
Okay.
But this, you cannot just bring, somebody say he's a mate. Another person is a driver, he has a license. And so I don't see how you can bring the two of them to do no. That for that one there. We are not part and parcel of.
Thank you so much.
Already Ghanaians know who is going to be the next president. They are ready for yesterday we exhibited it. And everybody saw it.
All right, so it's a no-show for the NDC on that debate. Ben.
All right, so we wrap the conversation. Thank you very much. Evans Nimako, Director of Research and Elections with the MPP. Thank you so much, sir, for joining the conversation. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, political analyst and physician. Thank you, sir, for joining the conversation. Dr. Tanko Computer, of course, he is with the IT team of the NDC on this as well. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Well, up next, we'll be actually contemplating the CIMG Marketing Woman of the Year. We'll bring you details of that. One of our very own netting that accolade, netting that gong. But before we go there, the Energy Commission and the Ministry of Energy in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service and the Ghana TVET Service present the 5th edition of the Energy Commission Senior High School's Renewable Energy Challenge. This challenge aims at developing the research skills of senior high school students and promoting technological innovation in renewable energy. Now, competing fiercely in this thrilling competition are the following schools: Obuasi SHTS, St. James Seminary SHS, Ola Girls SHS, Ahantaman Girls SHS, Kpando SHS, and Dabokpa Technical Institute. Join us for the grand finale on Tuesday, the 8th of October 2024 at the Accra International Conference Center. You can catch the live broadcast on Joy News at 9 a.m. And this event is proudly supported by GIZ, Ashesi University, the French Development Agency, and the VRA. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.